And so we move to our regular meeting with the invocation and pledge of allegiance. And once again, Mr. Cordova.
Thanks, sir. Will you please stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? We thank you for the many blessings you have freely given to each of us. We ask for your presence to guide this meeting of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. Provide them with the knowledge, compassion, and wise counsel needed as they discuss the business matters on the agenda today. Help us all to remember that we are all stewards acting on behalf of our customers, and provide us with the grace to serve all people well. We ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Cordova, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history with CPS Energy.
Thank you, sir. I'm Joe Cordova. I serve in the organizational change management area. Most people are like, that's a mouthful. What is that? So when you're building projects, people are usually focused on the technical side. In change management, we focus on the people side. What is this solution doing, and how is it going to impact the employees, the customers at CPS Energy? I've been doing that for the last 2 years, and before that, last 8 years in a power plant, I was a control room operator at the Summers Dewey Power Plant. I'm also a United States Air Force veteran for the last 10 years as well.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Great
Yes, sir.
job.
Thank you very much.
So we're very honored to have with us today Councilwoman Anna Sandoval, who represents District 7. And Councilwoman, I want to welcome you and give you an opportunity if you'd like to say anything.
Sure, can I speak from here?
Or if you'd like, either way.
Thank you very much. Chair Steen told me that Councilman Courage usually declines the opportunity to speak in public. That's not me. I'll go ahead and say thank you very much for having me, and I'm so thrilled to see that you've integrated the citizens to be heard comment period into your meetings and that you're live streaming. So thank you very much for doing that. I know it's not always easy to listen to what people have to say. And I know because I know these people from council meetings too. But thank you very much and congratulations on that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Appreciate it. And also, we've got a member of our Citizens Advisory Committee, I think representing District 9, Joe Ukubic.
Yeah, yes.
Good, and welcome. Glad you're here and glad you're taking the interest. Do you have any thoughts?
I do not. I missed the last CAC meeting due to work requirement. I was able to attend the GridX, which I thought went very, very well as far as that. I had I guess I am having a comment. I had a coworker who is in a cybersecurity field, and from a purely external perspective, he had comments. He thought it was great, so he thinks that is a great thing to do. So congratulations on participation in the GridX last week, and I look forward to the meeting.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, let's move to the CEO report. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Williams?
Okay. I'm going to cover the highlights on the agenda. I'm going to talk a little bit more about GridX. And then I'm going to talk about a subject that we have to put increasing focus on, which is protecting our customers. And the short answer, a focus point, is that there are a lot of bad actors out there who are perpetrating being CPS Energy and trying to intimidate customers. And we are doing a full court press. We've worked on it for a while, and we realize this is just the new normal. And so I want to share some of the things that we're doing to work harder at protecting our customers. On the agenda, as usual, we continue to want to share our cost-saving activities. We have a focus this time on batteries that we use at substations. Substations are critical components of our infrastructure. We are using our technology and our data to do a better job of being able to monitor the effectiveness of batteries. Batteries, like any other equipment, can fail, go out, lose their charge from whatever purpose. We don't want to find that at a point of crisis. We want to create a more proactive approach, and with the ability of utilizing increasingly improving technology, we are doing better processes, not having to do truck rolls, and saving money. So you'll hear about that today. What's not in your report this time is the financial report. The financial books are closed, and we know that activity, but it takes a while for us to put it in the format so that we have the financial statements. We will send that information out on separate cover, but basically we are still on track and we have not lost any ground. Good cost control, optimization of our revenues, and our metrics remain stable to what you've seen. Assistant treasurers, well before I got here, it was a practice. Your CFO, Dolores, is in fact our primary treasurer, but we also have assistant treasurers because there are day-to-day activities that require actual human oversight just to make sure that things are done appropriately. And so we have a authorization listing, lots of activities to make sure that everything is taken care of. We end up with usually 3 to 4 extra people who are assistant treasurers. We got a sad story. We're losing one of our really experienced assistant treasurers. We are really happy for her. But at the same time, through succession, we're going to have a recommendation for Dolores on a new assistant treasurer. Yes, and we will continue to have conversations and updates associated with the Flexible Path, the Flex Power Bundle, and Flex Step. We understand that this continues to be a huge point of interest across our community, and so we'll share some additional insights. We had some questions last time from the presentations. We'll address those issues and give you some more updates. And I think we may not hit every meeting going forward, but you'll increasingly see us focus on these items. We are going to talk some more about our energy efficiency and conservation program. Kind of go back over the history and as a highlight. Back in 2008 timeframe, there was a lot of discussion about the things that can be done on energy efficiency and looking at new distributed resources. And we also had a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Rifkin come in and visit with us. We had some conversations. The mayor at the time, Mayor Hardberger, was really kind of asking us to look at certain things. So we did collectively come up with a program. And just, for clarity, it was not the strong program that we ended up with. It was kind of a light bulb program, and we kind of had not that much specified. But every year we work to add new resources. And with the support of the board and support of the council, we've been able to grow that program, and it has been extremely successful. And so we want to go back over again because we have gotten some input about where we should go. We are going to, we generally recommend that we continue to do things in terms of energy efficiency and conservation. And maybe the big point I want to stress again, the point of an energy efficiency and conservation program is not to just give away money for purposes of giving away money. That's not why we do that. We would just stand outside on the front step and hand $10 or $1,000. What we're really trying to do is make sure that we encourage a change of behavior and awareness around saving the use of power and thinking about putting in new technologies that people haven't utilized before that will save power. What's in it for the utility? Because if we can manage the demand for power, we can take advantage of time and implement solutions very strategically and at the right time and not over leverage ourselves. So it has been a win-win for customers. It's been a win-win because overall our profile has been able to control the demand. By us being able to do that, we actually help our community not overbuild. We help our community save, and we help the state in terms of not over exceeding the need for demand. If we don't balance the actual need for power and what can be generated, that's how we create instability across the system. So it's been a win in many, many cases for us, for our customers, and we just continue to want to make sure that we're focused on what might be the next steps going forward. I want to highlight again, as our CAC member indicated, we had our most recent participation in the 5th national effort for GridX. It's huge. We go to La Villita. We have many, many people join us. Trustee Gonzalez was able to come on both days and kind of experience what that's like. It is a instance where we are getting injections nationally. Injections are a crisis after crisis after crisis. And we put people in the room, and in some ways we use it for succession planning. We put people in roles where they can experience what it would be like to make decisions. They confer, we exchange, we do lessons learned right on the spot. And we in fact look for opportunities for more improvement. It is a wonderful effort that the industry focuses on. We will continue to do that, but we have many partners that helped us have a very successful effort this year. Okay, protecting our customers. So if you haven't seen, I'd be surprised, but we have been trying to work through social media and with the main media outlets and anyone that will help us tell the story about being very careful associated with people who call and pretend to be CPS Energy, but basically are just looking to get money out of people. And so these are some headlines of stories that we've had run in, overall in the big media outlets, forewarning folks, don't just assume that we are ever going to call and demand payment and say that we are immediately sending anybody out there to cut you off. We don't operate like that. But we are very concerned because we have had customers across our utility get taken by these bad actors. So we've just got to do more, and we want to talk about that. So we are going to up our campaign efforts associated with both in English and in Spanish, associated with making people aware of what people might do to come after just individuals. And so instead of having that pop up in reaction to issues, we're going to run a year-round campaign, and we're going to be able to have levers that we can increase from time to time throughout the year. So we absolutely want to increase the awareness and the amount of us costing our customers and each other about these issues. We are even going to run a holiday campaign and put effort. That is about to roll in the near future. It'll roll all through the holidays to make sure, again, that we're doing outreach. And if we could even do it all the way to schools to make sure that young kids know what bad actors look like. I think we had a quick conversation with the chair about this, and other members of the board, continue to try to use our bills and bill inserts and just as many different ways that we can do to make that connection. So we're also we're gonna use some messaging through our phone. On hold, you said, let's look for some opportunities. We think this is one. We're going to work through that. And so as many things as we can do. Again, we will never call a customer and say, you are delinquent and we're about to cut you off, so go and make a payment immediately. And anytime somebody says, hang up to this number and call a different 1-800 number, never do that. Never go to the grocery store. Sometimes the bad actors will say things like, go get a credit card or go get a gift card and put money on it and then make the payment to us. Those are all different ways that they are circumventing our systems and our controls. Our biggest campaign that we have, our biggest program, is working with customers on customer payments. We don't want to cut customers off, and we do everything we can to work with them. So these types of threats are by far nowhere in our operations, but people are trying to make it seem like it's us, and it is not us. Those are the big highlights.
By the way, and we know of some tragic examples of
Yes,
people
sir.
that have paid out
Huge.
like $800 or whatever to one of these kids.
Yes. We're just going to do all we can to stop these people.
Any questions or comments? All right, now we move to additional updates, cost savings, substation battery testing. And do you want to introduce that?
I'll let Chris.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think David Lentz, who's our interim director of substation construction and maintenance, will be presenting. But basically, our substations are a critical part of our infrastructure, and these batteries act as a backup if we lose power there, especially around the control systems and electronics around there. So David's going to go through a cost-saving opportunity.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the chance to present to you today. My name's David Lentz. I'm the Interim Director of Substation Construction and Maintenance. Today I'll be presenting on a cost-saving and reliability initiative that we implemented on our substation batteries. So our objectives and takeaways, we'll discuss our substation battery testing and the automated testing and monitoring cost savings. In our agenda, we'll discuss substation batteries and their function in the substation system, manual versus automated testing, and the cost savings and benefits of the automated testing. In the image to the right here is just an example of a typical CPS Energy substation. This is our Hamilton Wolf substation. So substation batteries. Our substation batteries, in the image on the right, you'll see a typical installation of substation batteries. We have 178 of these battery sets across 117 substations in our service territory. In the image, you'll see, this is the battery bank. You can equate this to the battery that you have in your car, just 10 times larger than that type of battery. We have the battery charger, which ensures that those batteries are always charged to their full charge to perform their work. And then we have the battery monitoring system that lives right above the battery charger. So testing these batteries on a continuous basis is a regulatory compliance task due to their criticality to the substation system. These batteries are used as a source of fast responding backup power. They provide power to our protective relays to help our equipment during abnormal system conditions. They also provide a source of power to our remote control system so our system operators can operate our equipment in our substations. So in the testing and monitoring, compliance requirements dictate battery testing on various 4 to 6 month intervals. So with the manual testing mode, we had no visibility into our battery systems in between these intervals. So our crews were also required to wear extra personal protective equipment during these manual testing procedures. Due to the human element, we had some inconsistent testing and measuring due to all the different test equipment that we had to use with the manual process. And we had numerous site visits to our substations to maintain this compliance. Since we implemented the automated system, we've been able to eliminate all of the issues that were plaguing us before. We now have real-time visibility into all of our battery sets. We have improved crew safety, and we have consistent testing and reporting methods out of the monitoring system. Not to mention that we have virtually eliminated all of our site trips to these locations to perform this compliance work. So our cost savings. With the implementation of automated testing, we have achieved a savings of approximately 4,100 labor hours or $328,000 annually. This savings allows our crews to focus on other proactive substation maintenance work, as well as all of the other benefits you see in this slide. One additional automation initiative that's currently underway is an additional monitoring system for electrolyte monitoring on our batteries. It'll monitor the fluid level in the batteries. So additional automation will once we have it fully implemented, we'll achieve another 400 hours of labor hours annually on top of the 4,100 that we've already completed. So that concludes my presentation, and I thank you again for the chance to present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any questions or comments? Great job. Thank you. Appreciate it. Agenda item 8 is approval of consent item, and so that means we only have one item. It's the payment to the City of San Antonio for October 2019. I'll give anybody that wants to time to look it over, but I'll need a motion. I'll move. So it's the motions by Mr. Kelly, seconded by Dr. Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to move into executive session. Council.
Yes, sir. At this time, the CPS Energy Board will recess into executive session to discuss matters posted under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, including attorney-client matters, real property, gifts or donations, personnel, security personnel or devices, economic development, competitive matters, security audits and devices, and under Chapter 418, confidential information under the Texas Homeland Security Act. It is 1:32 p.m.
And just to give you all a heads up, we're going to discuss real estate items in the executive session, and it may be that we would be ready to vote on something,
Yes.
and that's agenda item 13. But Mayor, because I think you're going to have to leave early, we're going to probably do that agenda item right after we come back.
Okay.
Just so you can be here. Thanks. Shellman.
Yes, sir. The board will now reconvene in open session, having concluded discussions in executive session where only two matters were discussed, a real estate matter and a competitive matter. It is now 2:42 p.m.
As we discussed before we broke for the executive session, I had proposed moving agenda item 13 to the next item that we'll take up. Is that done without objection? Everybody's okay with that?
Yes, sir.
All right. This agenda item is resolution for approval of real estate items. And Mr. Alvarez, it has you as the presenter, but I think we're at the point, do we just want to go ahead and address this motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And a resolution, and Ms. Shellman, would you read the resolution for approval of property transaction?
Yes, sir. I have drafted this based on the discussion that the board had in executive session, and so listen carefully. If it doesn't reflect your discussion, let me know. This is resolution for the approval of property transaction, whereas CPS Energy owns the downtown campus, main office, Navarro Building and Garage, Villita Assembly Building, Lot 2, Tower Life Garage, and the Northside Customer Service Center, collectively the properties. And whereas these properties were declared surplus at the September 24, 2018 meeting by the Board of Trustees, as they are no longer needed for use in the operation of the gas and electric systems. And whereas Chapter 272 of the Texas Local Government Code, which governs the sale or exchange of land by a municipality, provides in Section 272.001 subsection K that notice and bidding requirements do not apply to sales of land owned by a municipality operating a municipally owned electric or gas utility if the land is held by the municipal utility, provided that the governing body of the municipal utility adopts a resolution stating the conditions and circumstances of the sale and the public purpose that will be achieved by the sale of these properties. And whereas with the assistance of its brokers, CBRE, CPS Energy has been marketing the properties to achieve the best possible sale outcome for the benefit of the systems and all of its customers. Now therefore be it resolved, 1, the recitals to this resolution are hereby incorporated by reference. 2, the CPS Energy Board of Trustees finds that a public purpose will be achieved by the sale of these properties because they are no longer needed for the operation of the systems, and the revenues generated by the sale will support the operation and service of the utility. As such, the transaction is exempt from the notice and bidding requirements of Chapter 272 of the Texas Local Government Code. 3, the CPS Energy Board of Trustees hereby authorizes, but does not obligate, the President and CEO or her designees to work with CBRE to pursue negotiations for the sale of the downtown campus and Northside Customer Service Center properties consistent with board discussions and to take actions as necessary to carry out the purposes and intent of this resolution.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve the resolution. So we have that by Dr. Mackey. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The resolution is approved. Thank you, Ms. Shellman. Next, we have a resolution for appointment of Assistant Treasurer to the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. Ms. Lindsay Jones.
Everyone should have the resolution on their, in front of them.
Yep.
And what we're about to do is appoint a new assistant treasurer. Normally we have 3, and as Paula pointed out earlier today, Linda Chester is retiring effective December 1st, and we're having Maricela Benavides succeed her. One of the things I want to highlight is that Linda Chester's done a fantastic job in the 34 plus years that she's worked here. We had a retirement celebration for her last Friday, and it speaks to her contributions in that one of our advisors from PFM flew in for the celebration, as well as our bond counsel, Narden Rosen Fulbright, realtors. It was just a whole host of people that came to celebrate all of the hard work that she's contributed to CPS Energy. So we're very, very proud of her. I don't know if Linda's in the room. Looks like she's not, but I just want
Vacation today.
So thank you, Linda, so much for all your contributions. We'll have Maricela Benavides succeed her as our third treasurer. Our other two assistant treasurers are Gary Gold and Shannon Albert. And just a little bit about Maricela. She has also worked here for quite some time, 32 years. She serves currently as the Senior Director of Corporate Planning and Management Reporting, and she has had a host of other roles, including roles in accounting, corporate reporting, financial planning and analysis, and she also has a BBA in accounting from the University of Texas at San Antonio. So with all of that in mind, I'll just read the resolution. Resolution approving appointment of Assistant Treasurer for the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. Whereas the CPS Energy Board of Trustees is required to designate and specific officers and staff to conduct financial transactions on behalf of CPS Energy, and whereas Dolores Lindsay Jones serves as Treasurer to the Board of Trustees, and whereas effective December 1st, 2019, Linda R. Chester, who has served as Assistant Treasurer and as the Senior Director of Cost Management, will retire from CPS Energy with nearly 35 years of service. And whereas effective December 1st, 2019, Maricela Benavides, who serves as the Senior Director of Budgeting Analysis and Management Reporting, will assume responsibility for managing and directing many of the financial transactions that require Board of Trustees approval, and will be providing support to the board related to these financial matters. And whereas Gary W. Gold and Shannon R. Albert will continue to serve as Assistant Treasurers to the Board of Trustees. And whereas one Treasurer and 3 Assistant Treasurers will facilitate effective and timely financial transaction coverage. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the CPS Energy Board of Trustees hereby approves the appointment of Maricela Benavides as Assistant Treasurer to the Board of Trustees effective December 1st, 2019. And the last portion of the resolution, witnessed by hand and seal of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees on the 18th day of November, 2019.
So is she here?
Yes.
Is Maricela here?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Maricela Benavides.
You know, I like to call on people. It sounds like you were prepared.
So good afternoon. My name is Maricela Benavides, and I've worked here at CPS Energy for 32 years. I've served in several capacities, ranging from rates to accounting to budgeting. I hope that with this 32 years of experience, I can do well in this new assignment as Assistant Treasurer, and I'm both honored and humbled by this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move. Second.
You got it there first? Okay. Moved by Mr. Kelly, seconded by Dr. Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. All right. Let's move to agenda item 11, Flexible Path Community Engagement Update, Part 2. Mr. Jonathan Tiarina.
Good afternoon, Chair Steen and fellow board members. Excited to come back again as a follow-up on last month's presentation around our flexible path engagement opportunities. Really today what we'll be doing is having a much more broader conversation, more context around the additional touch points and engagement that we do throughout the organization. Before I start though, I should mention I'm the fortunate one to be up here and very excited to be here, but yet in reality there are hundreds of individuals that work daily at these various events that are on the telephones, that are talking with our customers, that are actively seeking this feedback from our customers. And so first and foremost, I want to say thank you to them, because without them, we wouldn't be having this information. To go over the agenda, we'll be, again, talking about how we are listening to our community, partner engagements, talk a little bit more in depth around our People First customer care fairs. I have a couple of videos that I want to share with you all, and then also talk about additional surveys and touch points, and then our next steps. So first and foremost, we continue to be in that listening to our community mindset. And we do this through multiple channels. Channels that you've heard me speak about up to this point have been focused around the People First fairs and our online web-based survey. But there are additional opportunities where we seek that engagement and that feedback, ranging from engagements at our walk-in centers where our customers can go and pay their energy bills, or seek opportunities to learn more about our products and services, in addition to after-call surveys that happen when customers actually call into our call center after we're able to complete out the transaction or the need that's being requested by the customer. More times than not, they actively participate in a survey so that we can hear feedback on what that experience was like. So starting with this slide, we'll talk about our community engagement team. So this is spearheaded by Maria Garcia, our Vice President of Community Engagement, and more specifically, her team led by Jesse Hernandez, our Director of Community Engagement. This team consists of groups that are actively out in the community, educating and bringing awareness on our various products and services, as well as troubleshooting outside normal, if you will, customer service inquiries. Things ranging from maybe a senior citizen having the inability of making it to a walk-in center, or a customer already on some type of a payment plan or option, and just seeking that next level of concierge service, if you will. So I'll highlight a couple of opportunities or engagements that we've done here recently. Starting on my top left, that's a member of the community outreach team that went out and actually helped service and troubleshoot a need for 2 customers, helped them figure out a payment option that is manageable for them. Because again, as Paula mentioned earlier today, there isn't just a one-size-fits-all. We very much are customizing our solutions and recommendations so that customers can work and still be able to have the power that they need to power their everyday responsibilities. One that I'm really excited about is our community outreach, specifically in schools. So the same team goes out and does education and demos different safety things around our business. So specifically, it's not uncommon for us to go to a school and do an Arc and Spark demo. This is actually in partnership with Rudy Garza's team, where we actually roll out a demo that we have where individuals, or actually our team members, actually demonstrate what it's like when a balloon may actually hit a power line, and what that actually does for what the ramifications are. Thank you. Sorry, my allergies are killing me today. And we're just gonna put it right here. So in addition to the Arc and Spark demonstration, they are also bringing around education around just safety in general. So talking about things, if they smell an odor and they're near a gas line, what that could look like. If they are seeing a down wire on the street, how to stay away from it, and bringing that kind of awareness at a youth level so that they are much better well informed. Another good example here is that same community safety team went out to our headquarter location, the construction over here on McCullough Avenue, and actually did an event that they call a loncheta. This is when we go out and actually have a safety conversation, a safety stand down, if you will, with construction workers, to do those same things, to bring awareness, bring education to them, and try to maximize our reach. When we do all of these events, what's key to note, or what's important to note, is that we often seek feedback to find out if these events are, 1, beneficial, 2, if we're delivering on the right topics to them, and then 3rd, what can we just be actively doing better to help promote that education and outreach. That same team, if you recall, maybe one of the questions we got last month was, how do we partner and how do we actively seek opportunities within our council districts? This gives you an insight as to the amount of different touch points that we do with the 10 council districts throughout our community. These events include our People First fairs, those lonchetas that I included, the community education outreach events, but in addition, these are also the high-touch customer service issues that I mentioned earlier, where our teams are actively out there and bringing that concierge service to the customer in their neighborhoods at a grassroots effort. If you are not aware, our Residential Energy Assistance Program, or REAP, is a partnership between us, the City of San Antonio, and Bexar County, where we are where funding is available for folks to help pay their bills during times of need, traditionally in the peak of summer or in the peak of winter. Our community engagement team is actively out there coordinating with those individuals that are in needing of those additional help or additional funding. And we're going to share a quick video here to kind of show what community engagement team looks like in action.
The water heater had leak, so the gas was going, so they turned off my gas. I didn't know that we were gonna have Thanksgiving. They had a meal for us, a Thanksgiving meal, everything. I didn't expect it. I don't have the words. It's appreciation, gratitude, but most of all, what it came about, love. And that's what we are. Because at the end of the day, we're all family in God's eyes. Thank you, CPS Energy. I love you all. God bless.
Value that our team members bring 24/7, 365. This isn't the stuff that typically gets, out in, mass press, or that we're actively always seeking to be in the limelight. But this is really speaks to the commitment as community members being here, as our popular slide says, born here, raised here. Just really speaks to the volumes of our team members. In addition, specifically to some feedback that we were seeking from our small to medium business commercial customers. This past year, we launched our E2B team. The E2B team is very similar to that CREW, community engagement or community response unit team, but this team in particular is focused on our small to medium businesses. As part of our ongoing research around focus groups and getting feedback from our customers, we saw that there are opportunities, and there still remain opportunities to us to better educate and deliver a next round of customer engagement with those customers. And so over the last 11 months, we have launched the E2B business team. Very similar again to CREW. They are branded in CPS Energy clothing. They have a vehicle. They actually have the Sprinter bus, which is a smaller version of the mobile unit that we have for our residential side. And again, we're just actively going out and making ourselves available to seek and have opportunities to engage with this particular customer segments. What's interesting about this one is, as you can imagine, when you're a small business owner, you're not only the CEO, but you're the CFO, the CIO, the security person, you name it. And so we have to be very flexible about the hours that we are working within to make sure that we're meeting with these customers. So a lot of these meetings that we're having with this type of a customer base is happening in the 4 to 7 o'clock in the afternoon time frame, not a traditional working schedule between just 8 to 5. And so we continue to make ourselves flexible and available to make sure we're accommodating our customers' needs. And something I want to highlight, and actually in feedback to Trustee Dr. Mackey, about 1.5 years ago, you mentioned walking into a Home Depot and seeing that they were actively participating and reducing their load during summer without even having like an incentive or a reason to do it. And so we actually took that and started our E2B on-the-spot winners. And so over the course of the last 11 months, we have been going out to random businesses based off of recommendations or just hearsay, and going out and recognizing them for their efforts around energy conservation and energy efficiency. And so here are a couple of the small to medium business owners that have received this window decal. It's actually a really nice ceremony. What we end up doing is we show up kind of uninvited. We ask to talk to folks, and we educate them on what we saw and how it's been beneficial to them. And here you'll see Christine Patman presenting the window decal, and these customers are very excited about putting that in their front door and recognizing themselves as a recipient of this award. And I'm actually going to share a small video here about our very first one that happened about 11 months ago.
The lighting, the natural lighting, the AC control, just the operations, right? So much of it is not just your usage, but your practices. That's something that's important to us, and it seems like it translates to good practice from what I hear from you guys.
Jose Campos is talking about the different ways he looks to conserve energy at his 9 Commonwealth Coffee House locations here in San Antonio.
Jose Campos with Commonwealth Coffee. It is our pleasure to give you our first on-the-spot recognition for being an energy efficiency champion.
Those efforts have earned Commonwealth Coffee CPS Energy's first Energy Efficiency Champion Award. All 9 Commonwealth locations feature LED lighting, tight seals on all refrigerators, a top-notch gas kitchen, and weather stripping on all doors and windows. Jose also enrolled the coffee house's Evergreen Street location in CPS Energy's Thermostat Rewards program.
I think it's thinking long-term, right? No way is that just me. I have a fantastic business partner, 2 business partners, our staff, our kitchen. I mean, it's a team. We're a small player. Unfortunately, by no means what we do has a maximum effect. But I think it has a small effect. And maybe people see or people care. I mean, we do have 9 locations now. So again, what you do in one location times 9 to some extent has a little bit of effect.
Jose may downplay the effect his conservation measures have on San Antonio's energy usage, but his conservation first thinking and practices are the big ideas to carry us into the future.
New business on that particular day and really that week. We also spend time promoting that business through our social media channels, and so as a kind of an added benefit, that small business gets some additional advertising, if you will, in partnership with us to recognize all of the good work that they're doing. And it's been a really nice addition to our slate of options. We've talked a little bit about this in the past, but also something to remember that we all actively have as well is we have a pretty comprehensive key account management team, and as well, in addition to that, an economic development team. The primary focus of those teams is really to serve as more of a concierge type service for larger customers to work with them on their energy efficiency needs as well as their rebate programs. This past summer, for example, I think you'll hear Rick talk about it here in a little bit, but we worked really, the key account management team worked really diligently with some bigger customers here in town throughout this community to join our demand response program. And again, those are all savings, megawatt savings that go back into the portfolio that helps reduce the demand, and ultimately is what has helped us accomplish our step megawatt goal earlier than expected. On the economic development side, obviously we are also actively working with all the local partners here, SADF, the city, and everyone else, not only in attracting new clientele to the community, but also working on the retention policy of, or not the retention policy, but the retention of existing businesses, and again, offering them that service that we have that one-to-one communication to help solve for their energy needs. You've seen portions of this over the last couple of months, but just as a reminder, our partner engagement continues going on strong. Since its launch back in March of 2018, hosted over 64 partner presentations, had about 5,000 people participate. Again, we'll continue to seek additional opportunities, and well noted from last month, we are already in talks with various HOAs to go out and have and schedule meetings throughout the start of the new year. Just because of a timing perspective, a lot of HOAs are tending to close out the year with some type of a celebration for in December, so we'll be looking for opportunities to come New Year to go out and seek those engagements. But something I want to mention that may not have been articulated as well last month is that our partner engagement reaches beyond just those that are in the room, but it really is to a much broader audience, right? So even for today, for example, each of us in here, the base of the foundation of us in here is that we're residential customers here at CPS Energy. And with that, you can see the type of reach that actually means. Not only are you here representing maybe an organization or a specific initiative, but in return, the information that is shared with you at any of our presentations really does have an effect of the amount of magnitude of the reach that it can get when you start thinking about talking to their peers, when you start going back to your businesses, going into your neighborhoods, and then at the base of all of that is everyone is a residential customer. Our People First community fairs, again, these are our grassroots efforts to really go into our neighborhoods of our customers, have a conversation with them on our products and services, offer our services available. As a reminder, this is not just one business unit. This is really a great partnership between all of our business units throughout our organization that are actively going and having these types of conversations, ranging from reliability to safety, gas operations, electrical services, as well as customer service and our crew teams. At all of these events, not only were we pushing the survey specifically around Flex Power Bundle and Flex Step, but we also have surveys throughout the years as long as we've been doing these fairs over the last 2 or 3 years. We do get surveys in response to the how of the fair. It's a 5-question survey. It's basic questions around, did you find this beneficial? What was your biggest takeaway? What can we do to be better? And do you actually have a recommendation for a better location should this location not have been ideal for the community that we're in? And so just to put that into perspective though, if you go back since March of 2018, that is 73 different fairs. So, you know, on average, we're actively doing a fair pretty much once a week. In addition, just wanted to share some examples of how we partner with our elected officials to help promote that, promote the event. Specifically, I'll call out a couple here. So here you have a District 10 news flash. Councilman Perry was nice enough to help push our surveys out to his community, to his community base. You have a newsletter here in the middle from District 7, Councilwoman Ana Sandoval, and as well as then actual People First Fair on the day of the events. It's not uncommon for council members to help push the activity that is happening in their district. And so here's an example of Councilwoman Villagran helping us promote the location and reminding people until the time will be there, and then showing some highlights of the event. And so we will continue to actively seek those type of engagements. These are just 3 examples, but successfully and thankfully we've been able to partner with pretty much all of our elected officials to help push this. Something that's not noted here, but I should also highlight, is that we also focus at the state level. And so Carrie Torres, for example, her team really helps spread the message for folks with like Senator Menendez, who actively is active on social media as well as with really all of the San Antonio delegation. So we appreciate their help in helping bring that awareness. We've talked about this a little bit, but focus groups, to give you some insight. So going back to June of 2018, we have hosted 15 qualitative focus groups. Those are your traditional focus groups where, you know, if you remember the Domino's commercials from a couple years ago, people sitting behind the mirror, listening into a group of 10 to 15 people having a conversation about you. If you've never been to one, I definitely highlight or recommend that you start Googling some, because you'll see some really fascinating stuff out there. But this is really an idea to get some quick hits or a pulse of what the community is thinking. You know, this is a lot of words, it's not a lot of data, it's more really opinion based. But it gives you good insight, at least. It gives you a temperature to where certain themes are related to the topics that are being discussed. We also did one quantitative survey. That survey tends to go more into the numbers, right? That is a more focused, more lengthy survey that we use rather through phone or through web to attract customers to participate. That one gives you a little bit more insight from a data perspective, which has been very helpful as well too. Themes over the last 2 years around what we've had conversations are perceptions of CPS Energy, perceptions of STEP, and of our brand, as we spoke about last month. We continue to use those tools. Those are just some of the tools that we use to seek feedback from our customers. And again, when we do those type of engagements, we don't only focus on residential, but we focus on our small to medium business as well as our commercial, as well as Spanish-speaking only customers. It's good to have as much of a mix as possible when we're having these type of conversations. Most importantly, we use all this data to help make decisions and to make pivots. From a marketing and communication standpoint, it would not be uncommon for us to receive some of this data, for example, around a particular campaign, right? And if the messaging is not resonating with our customer base, then it gives us the opportunity to adjust and pivot that messaging so that we can ensure that we're delivering the right message to help drive where we want our customers to go. Something else that we do, and you may have some familiarity with this as well, it used to be known as MSI, but Escalent. This is the customer satisfaction survey that we use as a tier 1 metric. This is the measurement that we use to engage that number. Again, highlighting the fact that we get an array of customers that participate in this. This gives you some insight to the amount of residential, small to medium business, and key account surveys that are done in an active year in order to achieve that number of ultimately what the number is at the end of the year. I'll highlight the 2019, those numbers are lower because that's only through the second quarter. So those numbers will be in par with the other years as we begin to close out the year. Again, Escalent uses, their proprietary way of calculation and giving that information. However, it is beneficial to know that they're they're looking at all of these segments of customers in order to help seek where you actually are from a measurement perspective. And it's something that we take, obviously, a very serious note of, and something that we continue to monitor throughout our years. And actually, I should highlight, I'm sorry, we do get this survey results, probably gonna have to proof check me, but I believe we get it every quarter. And so we use it as a check every quarter to see where we're trending. It gives you good insight because it's usually, if you think about it, if you're getting a grade every quarter as a tracking mechanism, that's really the effects of the previous quarter or really the previous 2 quarters. And so it gives you, from a management perspective, it gives us a good insight into thinking about, okay, what was happening at that time period? What did we maybe have some successes on, or what are some additional opportunities where we could adjust as we move forward? The other thing I'll highlight is just this is a quick look at all the known surveys that we are actively participating in, or asking our customers, to participate in on an annual basis. This is actually a 2-year snapshot. And so the call center, ACS, that is after call survey. So this is that example of where you call into our call center, you seek clarification or help on a particular issue. When you finish, these are actual customers that are, you hear the message, would you like to participate in the survey? These are customers that are actually staying on the phone and giving us feedback. Our call center uses that information continuously to help improve on their scripts and to improve in their engagement and to really track performance of individuals as we're communicating with our customers. At our walk-in centers, we actually have 2 options. So these are the walk-in centers where customers are going to pay their CPS Energy bill or talk to a customer service or an energy advisor. These are the ones specifically at CPS Energy facilities. So this would be like Northside Customer Service Center, the Westside Customer Service, Southside. You have 2 options there. You can actually do handwritten comment cards, which we collect, or you can actually use the automated system where customers can go up on their own and actually answer the survey on a screen and submit it to us electronically. Additionally, our customer engineering group, it's been well documented that we've been making a lot of active progress in improving the way we are actively managing new construction services or the developers in particular. And so we launched the survey 2 years ago when we really put that at the center of the table. And those surveys, again, help us, improve on our processes and see where we are trending, rather on the positive or on things where we still need to improve on. We've talked about the website and customer affairs, and I think I left this out, but our public safety and education team, anytime they go out and do a presentation, they also additionally have a survey that is available where we are, again, actively seeking how do we continue to improve our processes and continue to improve the story, if you will, as we go out and have these presentations. And so over the last 2 years, roughly over 500,000 people have participated in some type of a survey where we have given us some feedback. And as we mentioned, we are committed to continue listening and adapting to our customers as we continue to evolve and hear from them over the course of the time. For next steps in our look ahead, we want to continue with our community, our customer engagement opportunities to listen and learn. As I mentioned, we are actively seeking the opportunities to go out with HOAs and partner with them. So we'll continue to do that from a partner engagement perspective. We'll continue to have our People First community fairs and continue to seek opportunities to go at a grassroots effort and really educate our customers on the foundation of our programs and services. We'll continue with surveys and focus groups, and then something that we're looking at that I think I mentioned last month, but we will be launching pretty soon, is we'll be doing some traditional polling around certain CPS Energy initiatives as well. And so again, I'll just close with highlighting the fact that this is not just one team or one group. This is really a company-wide initiative or approach where we are actively seeking our feedback, not only for a specific initiative, but also how we better improve our interactions with our customers. We'll continue to look for these opportunities and continue to use that data so that we're actively making the right pivots and making sure that we're always delivering the best output for our customers. take any questions.
Questions or comments? Great job.
Thank you.
Oh,
Do
you have a-
and John, I'll just be brief. I mean, this is great, and I think one of the best things that the organization has done the last 5 years is the crew. They do a fantastic job in the neighborhoods.
Yes.
My question will always be, how are we incorporating the feedback? How are we incorporating what we're hearing? How does it change the outcome in many ways with the operations and the conduct of CPS? I mean, I see the chart. If you go to the slide with the little person at the top and the filtered down communication, I mean, that's how you spread the flu. That's not how you communicate with people if you want the feedback. So I will be constantly asking, how does the residential customer at the bottom, I know they're getting informed, but how are they informing us? How's it coming up to us in terms of, we're about to talk about the STEP plan, we're talking about the power generation, we're talking about a lot of different things. How are we incorporating feedback? The survey instruments are good. They're short. The ones I've seen are centered mostly around, are you informed about CPS and what we're doing and how we're serving you? But we also need the engagement back from them and prove again, closing the feedback loop, how we're incorporating what they've told us.
Sure.
Part 3.
Part 3, sure.
Next.
We'll be back.
Next. Okay, good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you wait?
Maybe. It's ongoing.
I'll be back.
Yes, absolutely.
Can't
Well, it's ongoing. Very good questions, so we'll have examples
So
of that.
the next item is celebrating STEP success, Mr. Rick Lynn. And Mayor, you gotta leave about 3:30.
Yeah. Stay as long as we can for the next one.
I'll try to hit as many slides as I can. So thank you, trustees, for the opportunity to speak to you about our Save for Tomorrow energy plan, give you an update on the program, and celebrate the success of the achievement of our metric, our goal, our community goal. And so a couple of objectives here is I want to step back and review the history of STEP and reframe or resurface, the original reasons why we did STEP and kind of how the community came to that decision, as well as, of course, celebrate the achievement of our commitment, highlight some of the values, some of the benefits for our community and for our customers, and then look ahead to what we're calling Flex STEP, which is our next generation of energy management program. And so again, we'll talk about the vision of STEP, the STEP achievements, the portfolio of programs that have developed over time and that we currently implement for our customers. Some of those benefits, some program highlights that we want to share with you. Talk a little bit about the cost of STEP and how we recover those costs, as well as the return on that investment of the community. A little bit about benchmarking relative to other parts of the state, and then a look ahead to what comes next. And so again, as I said, we wanted to take a step back and recall 2008 and 2009 and why the community was talking about the STEP program at that time, and why this board and the city council elected to go down this path. And really, this was an outgrowth of a number of things. One being Mayor Hardberger's vision for the Mission Verde initiative at that time, which was really to have a sustainability goal or vision for the city of San Antonio, really to start to talk about the new energy era, which at that time was very much on people's minds, as well as create green jobs. You might recall green jobs was a heavy focus in how could we bring new skills, new technologies to our community. And so we embraced that. Really, that took the form of what we called at the time the fifth fuel, which was to really use large-scale conservation. Conservation had existed before, but not at the scale at which STEP program envisioned. And that would bring additional diversity to our generation mix. Of course, it was also part of avoiding the need for a new power plant and reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. And so just a graphic here, right, of really beginning the conversation of conservation and demand response to sort of link up with the other sources of energy for the community, and to really make a major commitment to that fifth fuel. And so that said, really, it started with an ordinance. The City Council in May of 2009 approved, as well as the Board of Trustees had approved, moving forward a resolution to create the STEP program, and really called out a couple of very specific objectives in doing that. Again, delaying the need to build additional generation capacity, leveraging emerging technologies, creating jobs, helping customers to manage their energy use. At that time, this was very early days in sort of the efficiency that we saw in that video. There wasn't as big a commitment to that at that time, and so we wanted to start down this path of really encouraging customers and giving them the tools to manage energy. And then, of course, reducing carbon emissions and air pollution. All of these were embodied in the resolution and in the ordinance that the City Council approved, as well as what you have here are the graphics from that presentation that was made at Council back in 2009. And so really, when we think about the impact of STEP, we think one of the really important pieces of what it's accomplished for the community is it's really served as a bridge between two moments in time. Back in 2009, our approach, like any utility traditionally had thought about, in terms of assets, thought about large assets, coal plants, gas plants, with large capital commitment obligations and long operating lives, and of course price tags in the $1 billion range. The world we live in today is really one where flexibility is key. Where the smaller investments, agile, dynamic, lots of renewables, and so STEP was really sort of the bridge between these two times. And as I'll show in a graphic in a minute, it really bought us 11 or 12 years of not having to make that big commitment in an asset that we would probably look back today and say, why did we do that? And so it really was a transformational opportunity for the community, and not just in terms of assets, but also in terms of our experience with the customer. The timing of STEP was critical in that it really allowed us to leverage and sort of ride the crest of a lot of new technologies that transformed the energy industry. And so everything from digital and how we share customer data with them and how we enable them to take action and modify behavior, to new technologies, whether high efficiency air conditioners, solar panels, that are today, very viable for customers and weren't at that time. Intelligent thermostats, so devices, all of these kind of came together to help transform our relationship with our customers and how they interact with their energy use and with their utility. And so that said, we are proud to say that we have achieved our STEP goal. The community has achieved the goal. We reached that goal in August so about 3 months ago, and that's a year ahead of schedule. And we're going to deliver more energy savings than originally forecasted, and we're going to do that at a budget that is below the original estimate. So we're proud of that. What that really means is that we've been very efficient in the use of the community dollars, and we've achieved a return on that investment that is higher than we had originally expected. And so this shows the trajectory of our path. We've shown this slide to you every year for the last several years. It shows you as we achieve the megawatt goal there on the green line. As I mentioned, we're now projecting we'll end this year over 771 megawatts. We'll actually come in about 830 megawatts roughly. And then on the dollars, which is the blue bars there, you'll see that we're projecting we'll end this year at $719 million, which is $130 million less than was the original budget that had been established for the STEP program. And again, that lends flexibility, right? That lends, I was speaking to the 13 years that we've been able to delay the need for that investment to serve that load because we were able to address it through another means and the flexibility that's delivered for us. So we are preparing a recap of the STEP program. This is one of the things in the ordinance was to prepare a report that summarizes what we've learned from the STEP program, make a recommendation around how do you leverage those opportunities for the future. And so I just want to call out a couple of highlights. This program is, this report is still being finalized, but we do have some key takeaways I want to share. So besides the demand savings that we always talk about, the 771 megawatts, there's also energy savings associated with that. And I want to tell you again to the scope of the program is that We've saved enough energy to power 104,000 homes, so it's significant. In terms of job creation, we estimate 680 annual jobs have been created over the lifetime of the program, and 28 million in annual income to support or from those jobs. On the environmental side, in terms of emissions reduction, 3.3 million tons of CO2 have been reduced, as well as other pollutants. And all of this will be put together, and we have a report that we'll deliver to the city that has all of these findings and supporting documents to substantiate that. In addition, of course, we've also had lots of industry and awards and recognition for the innovation that has really kind of been a heart of the STEP program. Just most recently, I'll just call out the 2019, we were, Paula and our team was awarded the Chairman's Award for the STEP program from the Alliance to Save Energy. It had a beautiful gala we were able to attend where we received that award. And then recently, the American Public Power Association recognized us as a smart energy provider. And to achieve that, we had to submit a packet of all kinds of information that demonstrates how we promote customer participation, how we innovate, and how we serve all the different segments of our community. And Jonathan was the one to accept that award there in the photo. So how do we do that is through a broad portfolio of programs for our customers. As Paula mentioned in her introduction earlier, we really started with just a handful of programs, most of which were CFL light bulb discounts at HEB. And over the years, the programs have continued to evolve and to grow. And so we now have over 20 different program choices for our customers, everything from energy efficiency, demand response, multiple options for solar participation for customers. And most of these are delivered either through our staff or through leveraging technology vendors. Some of the leading players in the market, whether a Honeywell or a Franklin Energy, Nest, all of these vendors have helped us build sort of this ecosystem of programs and offerings that really drive value for our customers. And the benefits are large. Again, to the scale of the programs, we've paid over 236,000 rebates to customers. We have over 17,000 solar rooftop systems installed in our community, and that's growing by about 400 to 500 every month. We've got 150,000 smart thermostats that our customers have in their homes that are available during the summer to help reduce peak load and free up capacity on the grid. We've got in total 261 megawatts of demand response, which we were able to successfully deploy over 20 times this summer. So these are meaningful size programs, and including things like school programs. We have a program in middle schools where 36,000 students took home a kit where it had basic starter kit for efficiency measures, including like an LED light, a couple LED light bulbs that they could take home, in addition to a curriculum in the classroom where they could learn about how to save energy and really start to build those habits around efficiency. On the weatherization side, we've delivered over 28,000 homes through our weatherization program, a significant investment by the community. In total, over $140 million that has been spent to help families be able to improve the comfort of their home, the efficiency of their home, and those result in annual savings of about $400 a year for those families in energy savings. So it's got an ongoing benefit over the lifetime of the program. So I want to pivot a little bit to the cost of STEP and talk about, of course, these programs, the $714 million I talked about earlier. That's what we've spent on the program. Those dollars are recaptured. We're able to recover those under the authority of the ordinance. We have to go through a process, however, to do that, and that involves working with a third party to come in, do an evaluation, basically substantiate that the savings that we claim are real. And so they spend a few months with us in the spring every year developing a report that then is submitted to the city. And there's an example there of the latest report. All of these are found at the city sustainability website, and they're publicly available. And they document program by program the savings that we claim, the cost effectiveness of the programs, as well as recommendations for how to continue to improve and iterate and innovate around the different programs that we offer. And so I just want to give an example before I talk a little bit about cost effectiveness. I want to give an example of why we've been able to achieve the STEP goal for less than we originally projected. And this is just one example. I think there's multiple examples we can cite, but I think lighting is one that really resonates with folks about, if you think about the technology between 2008 and today, we've gone from incandescent light bulbs. We had sort of a midpoint with CFLs where those were really popular, and today we're at LEDs. A factor of 5 in terms of the efficiency of lighting today. Plus, they last much longer lifetime, and so it's a better product. It's also a much cheaper product in terms of what it costs now to light your home. And so what we've seen is this huge uptake in adoption. And so we've been a part of that transformation by encouraging people to get comfortable with LED light bulbs. That can include discounts at Home Depot, Walmart. I encourage them to buy them, or in some cases giveaways. Again, I talked about the school kits. We also have given away light bulbs at community events just to get people used to the idea of this new thing. And again, as that technology has improved, we've had this huge growth and adoption, and it's resulted in a lot of savings for the community that would otherwise have had to be met with generation. And so again, that's just one example. The way that translates to the overall portfolio is something that we call the utility cost test. This is an industry standard way of measuring what is the value of the energy you're saving relative to what it cost you to create it. And so it's a ratio, and a score of 1 is good because that means that the programs are saving, the value of the energy they're saving is higher than the cost to save that megawatt. And so what it shows here is that over the years, we've continued to improve the performance, the cost performance of the STEP program, so that at the end of it all, we've delivered an ROI of $1.92 on average for every dollar invested. So that's $1.92 of capacity savings, energy savings that would otherwise have had to have been created. Of course, the programs do have an impact to customer bills, and that is the recovery of the cost shows up on customer bills. And this is a slide that we created, and we've really tried to share widely so that people understand, what does this translate to my pocketbook? And so what we show here is year by year what the cost has been to folks on a monthly basis, and this is based on 1,000 kilowatt hours a month average bill. And as you can see, it started small. Of course, the programs were small at that time. As the program scaled, that cost has gone up. Of late, it's dipped, and partly driven because our solar rebates have come way down, and some other things. We've been able to modulate the incentive levels to still generate savings without spending as many dollars. And so today, a customer with that size of usage would pay $4 a month, just over $4 a month, on their bill to support the STEP programs. And I mentioned earlier we were going to talk a little bit about benchmarking. So this compares that $4 with how much is spent on conservation and efficiency in other parts of the state. You'll see that San Antonio and Austin really lead the pack there. I think, partly that's driven by the fact that we're municipal utilities. We have very different objectives and regulatory structures versus other parts of the state that are PUC. They have some PUC requirements around efficiency, and so much smaller energy efficiency spending on the part of customers. That said, one of the things we want to make sure you take away is that even with that efficiency spend, which is in the orange section there, our combined bill is still among the lowest, or it is the lowest in the state of Texas among the major cities. And so I think that speaks to the benefits, right, of these programs in helping to reduce our overall costs over time. And so I'll end with this slide, which is a look ahead. We've spent the last several months talking to customers, gathering feedback, going out to the community, seeking feedback on the STEP program. We're using that feedback to inform what we're calling Flex Step, which we think really should be the next generation of efficiency, right? We have an opportunity to continue to innovate, to continue to expand the options that are available to our customers, and to continue to support the market for technology and growth in our community. And so we're taking that feedback, and we'll be back. We're going to package those options and bring those to you. Again, this starts with the Board of Trustees, and so we will bring those back to you, and again, make the case for why we think that this is a worthwhile pursuit for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lou. That was excellent. What are your questions or comments?
I'll go ahead and start. So obviously, this STEP has been a much valued project, program, great benefit to the community. I think the ROI is pretty clear. And so I would just encourage us to continue along the path and seek innovation partnerships where we can. I know the universities are also interested in SWERI and other organizations and seeing how they can also develop solutions for us. The only caution I guess I would give us is that not everything valuable to the community at this point can be measured in simple dollar ROI. We are in non-attainment. We have challenges with regard to how we're going to be handling weather patterns and other community values that we're trying to cope with, that we should open ourselves up to conversations that go beyond just the economic factors, but obviously are still return on investment, but also yield other community benefits. But clearly STEP has been a huge success, and I'm glad that we're going to continue to explore.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Would EVs be considered part of STEP?
I think that's something that we have thought a lot about.
Yeah, I just think that, I guess part of what the mayor's saying and part of what I'm thinking, Rita, and I'm sure you're gonna come back with that, is how do we incorporate some of the new, like the EVs, or even how do we measure the non-attainment? How do we incorporate also, and I don't know if this is the right venue for that, but the resource planning that, we need to do to make sure that we're meeting some of the community feedback that we've received in the last couple of, I've received in the last couple of months. And so we'd just be open to and looking forward to hearing that feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Well done, thank you. So the last item on our agenda is the Flex Power Bundle Update, Part 2. Mr. John Bonner.
Good afternoon, Board. I appreciate once again the chance to be able to speak about the Flex Power Bundle. Mr. Mayor, good to see you again, sir. As you recall, we did quite a good conversation last month about the Flex Power Bundle. We talked about our power plants and sort of the notion of moving forward with this power bundle. And we're going to go a little bit more into detail of this. We're going to talk a little bit about the load side. And I want to show also a little bit more about the process for moving forward. On our agenda, we're going to give a little bit more information on our assets as far as their capacity and age, and then compare our total capacity against our load forecast over the next 10 years. We're going to show a little bit about how we use those assets to meet our demand both in the winter and the summer peak, and talk a little bit more, like I said, about the process moving forward for weighing our options. So here's a good picture about where our portfolio sits at this time. On the vertical axis is megawatts, and so on the far right you see the orange bar. That's our total number of megawatts of capacity. Take the nameplate capacity of all of our power plants and add them up, and that's what you have. And then across the bottom axis you have the age of those assets, and so they're identified underneath it. So Spruce 2 and the CTs number 5 through 8 are under 10 years old. The CTs 1 through 4, Rio Nogales and AVR, are 10 through 19 years old, etc. What I want to point out is those aging units we were talking about last week are in this area. These are the Summers units, Brony 1, 2, and 3, all between 40 and 50 plus years old. And if you add all that together, it's about 30% of our capacity is in that range. So there's 2 points to be made about that. First is that these plants were designed in the 50s and 60s and built in the 60s and early 70s. They were built for what's called the intermediate role, which means they start up in the morning and shut down at night. So these plants have basically been doing that for 50 years. Early in their lifetime, they did that every day, year round, but here lately we use them mostly in the summer. So what does it do to a power plant to start up in the morning and shut down each night? That's a lot of thermal cycles, a lot of expansion and contraction. And so when you do that thousands and thousands of times to a unit, it leads to reliability issues with large metal components. So that's one of the things when we talk about shoring up the capacity of these older units, is that since they have so many years on them, they have much more likelihood to have a major failure due to the accumulation of all of these thermal cycles. And the other is that since they are that old, they were built during a time when power plants were less efficient. So nowadays, we deploy them last because they're the least efficient. We run all of our more efficient units the most. So when do we use them? We use them in the summer when all the rest of our assets are maxed out. So they're used during the time of year when our load is much higher and prices are much higher. However, the consequences of failure are much higher if one of those has a failure. So when we talk about shoring up the reliability, they're more likely to fail, and the consequences of failure are much higher. So that's what we're talking about, the risk associated with that older capacity. Any questions or comments about that? Okay, because I want to move to this picture right here. What we're looking at right here, the red line is our load forecast going forward from, this is in calendar years 2020 to 2030. And the columns are our total capacity. The lighter shaded part of the column is the capacity represented by those 5 older units. And then the darker solid bar is all the rest of the capacity that we have. And it also includes an allowance for our solar and wind that we statistically count on and factor in to be available on peak. So you can see from this that even this coming summer, we are depending to meet our native load obligation using all of our units and some of these units that are of questionable reliability. And the situation just increases from there as load ramps up. So the point to be made there is that each year each of these older units have a chance of having a failure in the peak time, and we're going to be relying on that year after year after year. And what are the chances that we'll be able to have a successful year like we did last summer with no failures over the next 5 summers? So with the power bundle, as we mentioned, integration of the gas toll plus the solar and storage feathers in over the next several years. So let's see how that goes onto this same graph. Okay, so what we've done is we've taken the power bundle capacity and added it to the top of the blue, which is our existing capacity in renewables, and taken that capacity at risk and put it at the top. And so you can see by the addition of the power bundle, we're effectively removing that particular risk from our portfolio. We're making it so that in order to meet our native load requirements, we can do it all with our newer units, the power bundle units, and not have to rely on these older, less reliable units for meeting native load obligation. And it grows because we'll be putting solar farms online over the next several years. So you can see the yellow portion is solar. It grows over time as we go from the introduction of the first few solar farms to the full 900 megawatts. And so that actually covers our obligation all the way till 2025. Now we have more units retiring after that. Load continues to grow. So another decision about capacity will have to happen sometime, in the 22 to 24 timeframe in order to address the back half of the decade. But the purpose right now that I'm saying of implementing the power bundle at this stage is to mitigate the risk of those older units in meeting the requirements of our customer on peak in the summer. Why is it so urgent to do it right now? Because the consequence of not being available is so high. And I'll just have to reference how we had those high price intervals last summer when the market was very scarce in the $9,000 prices. So that's kind of the urgency behind getting some capacity in place sooner versus later. Any questions or comments or thoughts about that? Yes, sir, Chris. Okay, sure. Okay, so the approach aligns with our flexible path strategy because it's the additional small amounts. Yes, I'm sorry.
So the flex plan is also
requesting that we also make that investment in the aging ones too? Or it's
To
totally separate?
replace the aging.
It's to replace the
To
aging.
take the risk out of the
And
portfolio.
in addition to the other things.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
And I think the other thing, John, those.
And are we being asked to buy for 10 or do we have the option for less than 10 years?
I think we're open. I mean, we
We're
could be
open.
5 years, 7 years, 10 years. I think we're gonna look, see what the market, tells us.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I understood
Well,
correctly.
the solar, we expect the solar and storage to be longer term contracts.
Well, that I understand, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
talking
the-
about
The gas toll.
the
The gas
gas
toll
stuff,
could be,
'cause that
could
is
be
a concern
shorter,
for
could
me.
be shorter depending on, what our decision process, we'll
I
come
think
back and
what we
talk.
wanna do is see kind of where the market is, cause obviously a shorter deal might be more expensive, because the next 3 to 5
Obviously.
years are very high priced in terms of scarcity pricing. If some of the new technology like
Might.
storage comes in, maybe the back half gets much more reasonable, so I think.
Do we have any like third party, or I'm sure y'all do, any forecasts of if we choose to buy less, commit to less years, like 5 versus 10?
We have indicative pricing on certain things, but we would have to go out with a formal process to try to see what people would really be interested in and use the time frame as the, what happens when you modulate the time frame. Yeah.
But at least we're not being asked to commit to buying 10 versus 5.
We are nowhere
Right now,
near
we're
that.
just-
Nowhere near
Okay, I just
that.
wanna make sure.
But uniformly, they've said that the 10 years is what gives us the low price.
Well,
down.
obviously, like whenever you,
But
but
John,
I mean, I think
we're
I
gonna
wanna
look
be
at all
clear.
different timeframes.
Yeah.
I think the other thing John didn't mention was those 5 units are gas steam units, or
Okay.
gas.
Yes, they are. And that's a great point, because any toll that we would do would be with a combined cycle unit. Combined cycle unit, much more efficient, lower emissions, type of unit. The other thing that I failed to bring up is that if we're in this situation where we have adequate firm capacity to meet our obligations, and we have some sort of a mechanical problem with some of those older units, it's a much easier decision to go ahead and retire it early, because you have enough capacity to meet your obligations, and you don't have to make a huge investment just to keep the plant online for 2 more years, that sort of thing.
And does it include wind too, or this is just
This
strictly?
stack does include the blue, includes,
The blue is
renewables.
the natural, yeah.
So the renewables,
All
that
right
the
there.
wind is in.
The wind's already
In there?
in our
Plan.
Rest of
overall portfolio. But our power bundle does not include wind because we already have 1,000 megawatts of
Okay.
wind, so we're looking to
To
bring the
offset it
solar up.
with different alternatives.
We expect solar to be much more heavily invested in the portfolio over time.
Plus,
and-
it's also more unpredictable.
Yeah, more on peak, right.
Go ahead.
John, can you go back to that for a
Okay.
second? What you just said kind of intrigued me, and I want to understand it properly. I mean, this is sort of a hedge against unreliable power source. If we got into 21, 22, and we get our flex bundle PPA contract going, you're saying we're in a much more secure position if, in fact, one of the unreliable pieces of our portfolio were to go down and we're in peak, because we will have reliable, firm capacity. At that point, we could make a decision about whether or not we want to shut something down early.
Yes.
Because it's a bad.
That goes back
So,
to the,
Well, my question then is, why aren't we doing this with the equipment to go ahead, with the commitment to go ahead and shut them down early?
I think I'll pass that to my COO.
Well, I mean, I think we believe that option is available to us. I mean, we were looking to, and just because we put a life out there doesn't really mean that it's gonna make it. What sometimes happens is we have a catastrophic failure in a blade or a turbine, and then we would make a decision like it's really not worth it to keep that going 3 or 4 more years. But now we've already got that capacity to do it. So it really is about transitioning out of those older, less efficient, more emitting perspectives, but making sure that it's firm along the way.
Yeah, no, I get that, and reliability clearly is one of our customers and our city's top priorities. So, but so is the environmental part of this, and so, part of this is again, a 900 megawatt commitment on solar. The impetus for the entire thing being reliability, why aren't we just coupling those together? And let me just make sure I set the proper expectation, because I did hear you. we're also looking at timelines. This isn't we're not going out into a 10-year commitment tomorrow. We're looking at how these timelines line up. So just to be clear, we haven't actually decided on this strategy at all, firmed up anything.
No.
Okay.
No, and to your point, so one of the most difficult things that happens is like we get asked, set a date. That plant has to retire on this date, and this plant has to retire on this date. But again, even when we decided to close Dealey, we went to the market to look what the capacity could be before we decided to close it for sure. We found a new unit, Rio, and then the STEP program just kept getting increasingly more effective. And so for us, it's not a matter of like picking that date, it's a matter of putting everything in place that we can so that the community doesn't get impacted arbitrarily. Again, we might think we're in 2023 closer to better energy storage, which could accelerate or push it out there. So we are totally open and believe that we should be replacing this capacity. But for us to then say, then that plant's gonna close on this day and that plant's gonna close on that day, it's not a like a cutting on the faucet. Is more of, okay, then we'll tell you we can cover everything with this plan, and then the more we get close to a certain date, then we say that. But to say today it's a particular date, we're not even sure which unit is gonna do better or not. There are multiple units. So our goal is ultimately to get rid of those units, so.
I understand that logically, and I think all of us come at this with different priorities. We give all of the customers priorities that were in the surveys. I don't want to jump ahead several slides, but I do have a question to follow up on what you just said.
Okay.
After we have the slide go up, several slides from now. So
I would go to the slide.
No. Go. I'd rather us go through the presentation than continue the conversation.
So I was just summing up that this is one more reminder of the power bundle, the 900, the 50, and the 500, and that it's the combination of all of them that we think provides a good good solution for the next 10 years. So I wanted to show how these capacities play out on the hottest day in the summer and the coldest day in the winter, and how that complementarity works out. So we showed this picture last month, and I put the units on it as you asked. This is the hottest day in the summer and the coldest day in the winter, and they're on the same scale, 0 to 6,000. So the summer peak around 5,000 megawatts. And during these are the hours of the day solar performs, and it drops off very quickly toward the end of the day. We would be deploying our storage to meet the peak. Yet still, there's a large amount of our customer demand that has to be met by the rest of the fleet, whether the gas tolls part of that or not. The rest is the peak. Plus, there's all the night and all time and all of the night in the morning that has to cover that. And then we have our wind power as it produces throughout the day. Winter is an especially tough challenge for us because the peak happens before, the peak in ERCOT happens before the sun comes up. And then there's another one at night that happens after the sun goes down. There's much less solar production because there's usually cloud cover and temperatures, plus it's a shorter day. So there's much less solar production, and there's a lot of risk associated with this wind production because frequently the highest, coldest day corresponds to the day that we get icing in the West Texas. And so sometimes our wind farms are iced up. So ERCOT is getting more and more concerned about meeting this winter peak than the summer peak, or it's getting to be of equal concern. So the point I'm trying to make here is that the power bundle, while it does raise, and don't forget these yellow sections have the 900 megawatts of solar in it. So while that brings it in, there still is the combination of all of that firms up the renewables, to meet the needs of our customers. Any questions about these pictures? And I would love to be able to add to the storage number, but that's we would like to be able to add to the amount of storage. But as you can see, it's a long way to go to have enough storage available, to meet the needs of our customers.
And this is current state, not
current
future
state.
state.
Well, this would be after power bundle, like 2 years.
But current state.
Yes, yes.
But keep in mind that's a projection, right?
Right.
I mean, to his point, there might be
But that's
days where
a
no
2-year.
wind can show up because it's a bad weather day, or it had to be a sunny winter day by some point in time to get that.
No, but I guess
Yeah.
my question is more based on current state, 2-year current state projections of technologies that have been proven, have been in play for a while.
These are all existing things.
This
you
is
can
all
get
the
to
things
today.
that exist, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have the opportunity to add more storage, but that's still a small sliver, and
Right,
it's gonna
right.
take a lot of storage to get there.
See the new Tesla trucks that are gonna come out on the market?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Very cool.
I would say that anyone's projections on what that storage is gonna be today is gonna dramatically change even next year.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably so.
And we should offer ourselves an opportunity to see what that looks like.
That's what I was saying.
So here are the numbers that are behind that. I wanted to point out, for the summer peak, this, when I was saying earlier about the statistical amount of solar and wind that we use to calculate our summer peak, this is how that turns out. And then in winter, the 0 solar or 1% solar is counted for planning purposes against the solar peak, West Texas and coastal wind. So these are the numbers behind those pictures before that. So moving on to how we intend to go forward and how this would play out. Focusing solely on the solar and storage, we want to look at we will use this RFP process to explore current pricing for solar and storage. Current pricing, what does that mean? Well, when you get a news article or something over the internet says that some company paid so many dollars for solar, that means that they were offered that months ago and they took months to do the negotiations. And that was done during the paradigm of perhaps a complete investment tax credit applicable to it. And so they'll get a certain number. Well, now when we go out, it's going to be specific to ERCOT and CPS Energy and the current investment tax credit environment and the number of megawatts we want. What is the pricing there? Who knows what that's going to be? I mean, it's probably going to be in that low range that we've seen before, but we know that there are things that are changing in the market, especially market availability and timeline. I speak to solar developers all the time, and one of them told me recently that unless you already have your panels in the United States, it's going to take you a long time to build a solar farm. We had usually been counting on 12 to 18 months to build a solar farm, but because of the tariffs, it's harder to get things in from overseas. They're much more expensive, and so it's kind of a wild card, the availability and the price of solar in this environment. So that's really one of the main things that we hope to get out of this RFP. How is the actual offers differ from what the press has shown over the last year or so? It could be different. I'm hoping we get really good prices, especially with the amount of solar we're going out to get. And so,
just and especially on storage, it's a really good time to see what those prices are out there in the marketplace, so we can be flexible.
But ultimately, we want to add a whole lot more storage. To your point, it's the solar we added a long time ago, the wind we added a long time ago was really good, and it's in our portfolio. But everything has gotten better, so we've been able to merge it in. So even if we start with 50, our ultimate goal is to achieve better penetration and increase the amount that we can do in energy storage over time. And that pricing, we believe you're right, is going to get better, and the effectiveness is going to get better.
So maybe this is not the correct terminology, but since I just went to the ERCOT, the GridX, there was a lot of talk about supply chain, right? So the RFP process would heavily take into consideration, right, the vetting process of that supply chain, knowing that my biggest concerns would be security and safety. We talk a lot about this need for renewables, but there's also a big risk, a significant risk with some of the newer technologies. And then who are the suppliers? As we know that one of the challenges is that whatever innovation is happening out there, it's another country that's producing the hardware and the software for a lot of this innovation. And so I will always be very mindful that we can't risk safety and security over wanting to incorporate new technology for environmental purposes and also for reliability and cost effectiveness. And so I just want to make sure as we go through this process that we're very mindful of, what's out there.
Trustee Gonzalez, I'll just note for you that Fred, Bonniewell, and I on the safety and security side and on the supply chain side and our teams are very much mindful of this point. And so we take your input very seriously, and it is informing how we're thinking about the supply chain security and knowing what the countries of origin are and how you track each component through that process, and also what obligations we put on our suppliers to make sure that they are also having appropriate
Yeah, I
diligence.
know we had some brief, but I just want to make, I mean, I know where we're going, I know what the future looks like. Well, I can't tell literally, but we definitely know, we have a good feel for that, and those of us who are in the industry. And I just, again, just want to stress the importance that we don't sacrifice security and safety just to meet much needed environmental goals, but we need to be very careful.
Right. And we expect a whole lot of interest in this.
Well,
in
I'm
this
sure.
RFP. I mean, it's big, it's gonna be probably replied to around the world. I mean, it'll be in the press, and we're gonna get a lot of it. So as a practical matter for me, is, how do I staff up to evaluate all of that? And,
Well, I mean,
so we have a plan and a
But
team.
this,
we're
this
working
might
to
be
do
an
that, yeah.
opportunity for maybe, I mean, and I don't know, man, maybe speaking out of line. I mean, we obviously have a citizens advisory board, you have us trustees, but maybe get a little bit more creative about who's at the table to participate in this process, because it is a community commitment, and maybe we can be a little bit more creative about who's part of that process.
Yeah, thank you. So, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, so I guess back to that previous slide, why would we not just do an RFP for the whole thing? All the components?
Let's talk a little bit about the gas part.
I think
Let me make sure, you mean for the whole power
The whole
bundle,
thing,
or?
because, I mean, if the gas contract is gonna be 10 years, and when we're,
It doesn't have to be 10.
well, okay, yeah, so we
I
don't
wanna
know.
make sure,
So
because
how do we determine?
Usually the source providers for the gas deal on existing,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily the same players. So we're just gonna blitz the market all around. If they wanna combine and give us a combination bid on the whole thing, that'll be fine too. So,
Okay, but on our specific request for a mix, generation mix.
yeah, but typically, most people are looking at solar and energy storage more so than,
Because that's new.
because we don't wanna build a plant. If we were building, we're not building, we're just trying to get enough capacity to leverage our exposure and transition out of older units. So you're not gonna find a ton of people in a whole space, but we might, and so that's all open. They can bid on all of it.
And I think maybe where we're getting a little confused, or at least I'll say I'm getting confused, is that last I think board meeting, right? It was about potentially investing in one of our existing plants, correct? A significant amount of money. And I guess, is there a direct correlation to this ask?
That was
Two
we
separate-
took that as a thing to look at about whether or not any of the existing plants could be repowered for another, we're gonna do that, we're gonna look at that too.
Okay, so it's two.
We ultimately, if you look
Right.
at all of the capacity, everything gets old over time, and so 1,700 megawatts will grow to 2,500, so we'll have to be looking at a lot of different solutions, but we'll bring those back as well.
Yeah, but my point being is that this is sort of a plan to replace, for reliability purposes, roughly 1,500 to 1,700 megawatts.
Yes, sir.
Why are we not just saying, bring us that plan? Bring us a proposal for that, as opposed to bring us a proposal for 60% of that?
I know that the buzzword is all requirements, everything, but again, if we could go to a Botsilla plant that is very different, and we could go to biodiesel or some other activity. All we're really trying to do now, again, is create more capacity, just like the STEP program, and we will continue to look at those additional opportunities, but we're not trying to do an all resource, because we're not trying to build any more gas right now. Our packaging is intentional to create capacity, but we ultimately will open it up as we have more megawatts to do, and we're thinking about new capacity.
Mr. Easter?
Yeah, I think, look, ultimately the solar and the storage component is kind of, where we ultimately want to be, and how fast that storage comes down the price curve is how much we add on the storage side. We know the next 3 to 5 years, a gas toll to firm up that solar plus storage is going to be important, and so we're very open to what that time frame is. But if we're looking at a gas toll with a physical plant in ERCOT, there's just a handful of companies out there. It's not the same group of players that are going to bid on an RFP for solar and storage. So that's why we've been treating them somewhat separately with the gas toll. But we're very open to a shorter toll or a longer term to transition us to that storage space that we're talking about that can really carry the load at some point.
The gas is a specific play for an ERCOT plant
Right.
that exists today, which we know who those are in the process. When we do an all resource requirements, because we're trying to put a lot more capacity and bundle and combine it, but we're just not there yet. We're gonna look at the repowering as well.
But if you go back to the usage curve, when we are using peak, with this,
Not that one, the
The
bar
other
one?
the straight line.
The bar.
The bar
On
one.
the,
That one right here.
Would this, I mean, obviously, we're not at the red line every day. We're there in the middle of the summer.
Right.
Everybody's using their ACs at the same time. Would we be using this supply, drawing off of that toll when we're not at peak?
Could be,
Or-
because
or
we
when
could
we're
be,
not
because,
exceeding peak?
we could be, because, other units have to go down and have maintenance, so you have it for the whole portfolio management.
test case.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the gas toll is a combined cycle, so that's the latest, most efficient plant technology that's out there on the gas side. And so again, it will be in a very efficient part of that fleet, so it likely will get used, during more hours than just that peak hour. But it will put us in a very good position to shut down some of our older gas steam units.
That's less efficient.
Right.
Which is less efficient, so you
you
will be.
start-
I would, so, again, you know my concerns and where I'm going. I would like, as we kind of move along in this discussion.
Yes, sir.
Is see, how we can couple those two things.
Right.
Yeah.
And one other thing, Mayor, the gas combined cycle is gonna have a lower carbon and water footprint than the gas steam. It still will have a carbon footprint relative to solar or storage, but since it is more efficient, it will have a lower carbon footprint than the gas steams that we would be looking to shut down.
Get you, we'll bring some more information forward on that.
That sounds good.
And again, the time frame is, I think we're very open to, is that 5 years, is it 7, is it?
We just put 10 because we're only in 2019 and 2030, and the market's really tight now, and there's not a lot of capacity. So really covering the next 3 to 5 years is really the good sweet spot. We're just wondering if you go any longer, do you get any other benefits? But we don't have to do all of that.
Right.
So we'll be exploring what the options look like.
And I mean, when we have to hedge a bit against an unknown, we have to hedge for our customers against an unknown environment as well in terms of, I mean, get a new administration, we might look at a carbon tax. How would that affect our decision on what generation we're gonna purchase? That's why, for me, just go out and see what the market will bear. We need 1,700 firm over the next 10 years. Let's give us the answers. If reliability is important, but also sustainability, security, and of course, emissions, what's out there? We can go around.
It's great feedback. I was talking about.
The future is here.
Sorry. I was talking about our request for proposals process, and then I was going to mention about the process for the gas firming, but I think we've just talked about all of this.
Yeah, we're good. We're good to
They
go.
did my slide. So anyway, that's kind of the detail right there. And so the timeline we're looking at right now is to continue this exploration of these firming capacity options, which does not exclude just purchasing straight power off the market. It could be just purchasing straight power off the market versus a toll from a specific plant. A disadvantage of straight power, of course, are that it's the ERCOT mix, which also includes coal, et cetera, and that it's a usually firm price, and so you get it even if you don't need it, and you pay the same price. So you don't have the flexibility of dispatching a unit up and down. We also are looking to turn around this RFP and get it out onto the street, receive the proposals, evaluate and recommend, and then hopefully toward the latter part of spring, execute perhaps the first solar and storage contract. So this sometime, we're looking at this playing out over the next 3 to 4 months as we have our conversations with you, the board, and our community along these two tracks. Any questions or feedback on this? Okay, and so it's our intention, just as we always say, that following the flexible path, that the implementation of this power bundle will help us in all 6 of our major lenses: the environmentally responsible, affordable, resilient, safety and security, as you mentioned, and increase the reliability of our plants for our native load. Any other questions?
John, I'm gonna make the same comment I made last month. If you don't have financial strength on there, all of that crap's useless. Without cash flow, without sustainability on the financial statement, you cannot do any of those,
It's true,
period.
You're correct.
So you better add that to it.
I wholeheartedly agree. And let me just restate. No one arguing for environmental sustainability is suggesting that we do it financially responsibly. The question is, how do we balance those two things? And I'm suggesting that we don't know where the future is going to go, but we do know it's going to be more reliable, it's going to be more sustainable, it's going to do all the things that our customers are asking for, because customers from here to Timbuktu are asking for the same things. And so I don't want us to get into a long-term play where we look back and say, well, you know what, if we waited for a year, perhaps we would have got storage more cheaply. Perhaps we would have been able to check more boxes than simply just the ROI in 2019. But you know, I know these are visceral conversations for a lot of people because it's not, I mean, the climate conversation is life or death in other places. Thank God it's not that way in San Antonio. But I will tell you that we have to continue to drive these conversations, but understanding that nobody arguing for responsibility to our environment is saying that we should be costing our customers out of their utilities. Quite contrary. The Climate Action Adaptation Plan for the City of San Antonio was built on a foundation of equity, ensuring that our most vulnerable customers, our most cost disadvantaged customers, were the ones that we were looking out for first. And I don't want anybody leaving with the misunderstanding that we're suggesting becoming environmentally sustainable on the backs of our customers. Quite the opposite.
I hope so, because those community fairs are very important to the feedback that we get, and I know that staying affordable is
Add
important.
financial strength to your deal, would you please?
Sure. We're on the same page on that bit.
All right, I'll balance it off, and y'all too.
I'm telling you, without
No, I
financial
understand.
strength, you've got nothing,
Understood,
period.
understood.
Take every one of them, they all go down the tube if you don't have cash flow.
We agree on
Period.
We agree.
We agree.
We all agree, Mr. Kelly.
It's kind of nice to end the meeting with all of us in agreement.
We all want to do the right thing, but it costs money.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Thank you, that was actually appreciated, yeah. So now we come to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So Dr. Mackey, a second?
Second, third, fourth.
I will
From Mr.
second,
Kelly?
I will second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.